Hello friends, welcome back to another Microsoft Flight Simulator tutorial. We are again with the Queen of Skies 747-8, and as you see in the background we have the jetway connected and our baggages are being loaded and the catering truck is filling out the supplies for our passengers. So what we are going to do today is we are going to do a full Cold&Dark startup, and we will look into programming the FMC for performance calculations for takeoff, as well as putting together our flight plan into the FMC. So that will be today's task. We will probably put that and then bring this beautiful aircraft from Cold&Dark all the way to taxi ready in this tutorial. And hopefully in the next episode we will do the full flight and we will look into departure, and if the time lets us do so, we will also look into programming the approach page as well as doing an ILS landing. Alright, let's jump into the cockpit and let's start powering her up, shall we? As you see, we are cold and dark, nothing is running, and I will not go through the panels again. I have done this in the previous episode. I will just go through what needs to be turned on when you are powering up this aircraft from Cold&Dark. First things first, standby power to auto, and open the battery guard and turn the batteries to auto. So now we have power to the aircraft. External power is available, so we can turn that on, and as soon as we do this, we switch our IRS system to nav so that it can start aligning itself while we are busy with other stuff. At this point, because we have power to the aircraft, let me jump to the overhead panel. Sorry about that. We will turn on the nav lights so that the ground crew knows the aircraft has power. Okay, let me see if we have to do anything else at the overhead panel. I don't think we do. We are good as of now. And we can go and check the screens, and the IRS system is aligning, and it will be aligned in 6 minutes. So we can jump to the FMC and start programming our FMC. Position initialization is the first thing you need to do. Our reference airport is Echo Delta Delta Foxtrot, Frankfurt International, and we are going to use the same flight plan we used with Airbus A320 just due to simplicity of wrapping our minds around what kind of flight plan we are looking at. So when you are entering this, you have two options to let the aircraft know its position. One of them is the GPS coordinates of the airport itself, and this one over here is the GPS position detected by the aircraft where we are parked at. So I usually tend to take this one because this is much more accurate than that one, and there is a little difference, as you see, 0.4, 0.2, but I like to use this one. So copy it to the scratch pad, see it over there, and paste it to these boxes, and we are done for that part. And I believe we are at gate B16, so let's just try to plug that in to see if it's going to accept it. It did. And the heading, I don't need to set it. It's asking for our current heading, but we can do so. Our current heading is 90 or 090 at the moment, so 090. Plug that in there, and the position initialization is done. Okay, let's go back and start programming our route. Origin is Echo Delta Delta Foxtrot. Destination is Echo Kilo Charlie Hotel, Copenhagen Kastrup Airport. Our flight number is 791. We don't have a company route, and there is no option to save this flight plan at the moment, so it is useless right now. The company route is used if you have saved routes into your FMC. You can recall them by using this company route option here, but we don't have that. So next thing, as you see, this has 2 pages, and this FMC is really close to the one in Cessna Citation CJ4 that we have seen before. It is quite similar to that one. As you see, it tells us that this has 2 pages up here. So let's go to the next page. Now this is where we enter our route information. Remember from the last tutorial, our departure is Maru 2 Kilo and our first waypoint is Maroon. Let's plug that in first. Mike Alpha Romeo Uniform November, and it will say direct. Next one is through Y150 to Uwano. So Y150 to Uwano. And the other thing I want to point out here is you don't always need to put the airway in there. As soon as you plug in the waypoint, it should automatically figure out what airway is the closest or most potentially the one that you will be potentially using to reach that waypoint. And next one is Natsu. So let's plug that in there. November Alpha Tango Sierra Uniform. And as soon as I plug it in there, as you see, Y150, so it figured that out by itself. And the next one is Talgi. So Tango Oscar Lima Golf India, right there. And from there we are going direct to Rozok. ROSOK, and it should say direct here, as we see. Now we ran out of pages, but as you see now it advanced to the 3rd page after we filled the 2nd one. So hit next, that will carry you, and copy your last waypoint you entered as reference here, which makes it easier to remember where you stopped. So from Rozok we are going to use Q2906 to Nikta. So November India Kilo Delta Alpha, and it should bring. And now, as you see, this is something I wanted to show you. These are exactly the same waypoints, but sometimes the coordinates are different. You need to make sure which one is the right one, otherwise you will be programming to a waypoint that's across the globe somewhere else 5,000 miles away. But this one, it tells me it's North Hemisphere and exact same coordinates, so I'll pick the top one. And you see Quebec 2906, so that's a Quebec airway, if you remember from the Sky Vector tutorials. So we are taking Quebec 2906 to Monac from Nikta. So Mike Oscar November Alpha Kilo, and it should list Quebec airway right there. And from there our arrival starts, which is our star Mona 2 Delta into runway 30 at Copenhagen. So that is that, and to enter this you hit activate. It will light up the execute button over here, and you have to execute that to accept the flight plan. If you go and take a look at the legs page, this will display your route information in pages, as you see. The only thing is, it is giving us a flight level 100, which is 10,000 feet, but we will be flying well above that, so we will look into that when the time comes. So route information is done. This has a 2nd page, 3rd page that displays our route. Okay, let's see if we forgot anything. Position initialization has 3 pages. Go to the next one. It has some information about IRS and where is the FMC position is coming. It's coming currently from the left GPS radio, so on and so forth. Let's go to the next page, and these are the IRS left position references, which we will not dive into. It gives you the coordinates and whatnot. GPS navigation inhibit, which is going to inhibit that, I believe, but I don't want to play with that and risk it at the moment. I don't want to start recording this from scratch. So let's go back and pick our departure. Our departure is from runway 25 left, if I remember correctly. Yes, it is. So 25 left, and we are taking Maru 2 Kilo departure. So it has 5 pages for different SIDs, as you see over here. Let's go to the next page. Don't see it there. Next page, don't see it there. Where is Maru 2 Kilo? Did I paste it? Okay, it's over here. I overlooked it. So that's the SID selected. Execute that. Go back to the route information and select our arrival. Usually you don't select your arrival at the departure airport. You wait for ATC to give you instructions and assign you a star when you get close and contact the ATC of that airspace. But just to show you, we are going to do it in the tutorial before we depart. Into Copenhagen. What is going on? So Copenhagen. What? Oh, from here. Departure, arrival. Arrival to Copenhagen. That was my bad. I was at the wrong page. ILS 30. And as you see, the stars are disappeared, which we didn't want at this point. Let's click that. To go back, you need to click the one that you selected again. It will cancel it. And now you can go and select your star, which was Mona 2 Delta, this one over here. We select that first. Come on. And now the approach is missing. This is some sort of navigational data problem. Let's execute that and see if it automatically assigns the 30 runway 30 ILS approach for us. Execute that one and go to the legs page, and let's scroll through the pages and see what it shows us. Doesn't show us anything, unfortunately. Okay, we have a slight problem here because we cannot select the approach when we select the star. This is something about Microsoft Flight Simulator's routing. It's giving us a direct approach, not a star. But we will see how that goes. Let's execute that and check the legs page one more time. So from Monac, we are going to a user waypoint, which really doesn't make sense, to our initial approach fix. I believe that's the initial approach fix. We can check that though. Let's go and pull the procedures, open the charts list, approach ILS 30, overlay that one for us and see what that waypoint is. So we are entering into a traffic pattern, taking a left turn and then going into the runway. And I'm trying to identify that waypoint by just looking to the chart. Oscar Yankee, 5 miles away from Oscar Yankee. Okay, Oscar Yankee is, I believe, it's the ILS DME beacon at the runway 30. So we should expect 3,000 feet to intercept the localizer 9.3 miles away from that ILS DME beacon. Okay, so hopefully we will live. We'll see while we are flying. We'll see what happens. Now what we need to do, and as you see, the restrictions are correctly plugged in, 3,000 or above, but not for the rest of the flight plan. And if you remember from the Airbus tutorial, we had a 6,000 feet restriction, which is also programmed into the FMC. So our departure and arrival is done. Route page is done. Now we need to go and look into our performance. We are not taking any reserve fuel. As you see, the reserve tanks are empty. When you take fuel to the reserve tanks, you put that information in there for correct center of gravity calculation. Cost index, I looked it up in SimBrief. It is going to be 2.6 for this flight, but I'm not sure if it's going to accept it. It wasn't before. and as you see, it's not functional. It's not getting it for some stupid reason. Even if I put 2026, nothing is going to happen. Any number I plug in there doesn't go through. So I don't know if the Boeing has a tendency to accept a cost index above a certain number, but what we can change here is our cruising altitude. We can stick to the same cruising altitude we did with the Airbus flight level 260. We plug that in there and it should update our legs page. When we go there, as you see, flight level 260 is updated. Cool. So performance. We don't have a working data link. This is like a Metar data link or any data link to the ATC, which we don't have at the moment. It's displaying the gross weight and the fuel on board in pounds. Zero fuel weight is displayed here. I believe if we take fuel we should be able to change it, but let's just try for a second. 561.8. I'll do 561.1 to see if we can change it. No, we can't. Alright, it's calculated automatically, looks like, and that's the performance page. Thrust limiter is when you derate your engines for a derated takeoff. Some airports have restrictions about loudness or how loud your engines can be, and if you break that restriction, they fine the airline, and that's serious. So this is where you need your derated or limited thrust takeoff. So 10%, minus 10% derate, minus 20% derate, or regular takeoff, and this is okay. Somewhat we are never mind. So this is the flap setting, this is the outside air temperature, and this is showing us we will be taking off with 87.9% M1, which is the I think that's the external turbine blades. This guy over here will be showing us 87.1, but this is using a different scale, so it's gonna display 8.7, I'm sorry, when we are taking off, if we keep it at this setting. If we go to, and we are selected as derate 10%, if we go to 20, as you see, the M1 percentage change to 77. Depends on how long the runway is. You can do a full thrust takeoff, minus 10% thrust, or minus 20% thrust takeoff, but we'll stick to what aircraft thinks we should do. From here, it is time to calculate our takeoff speeds. We go here, flaps today, I'm sorry, that wasn't the flaps setting in the previous one. On the thrust limiter page, this is selected outside air temperature, so it's increasing the temperature to derate the engines for 10%. That's what it is doing. That's my bad, sorry. Let me get off that radio real quick if I can get to the pedestal area. Yeah, let's cancel that so that the ATC doesn't bother us. Alright, so thrust reduction altitude is where you need to pull the throttle back to climb detent, like we have seen in the Airbus. At 1500 feet we will take the thrust back from takeoff thrust to climb thrust. Flaps is going to be 10, so we are taking off with flaps 10. That's plug in there. Runway condition is dry, CG is there, runway is there, and these are our V speeds. So our V rotate is 153 knots. And I know I did some reading about 747 because I wasn't that knowledgeable about this aircraft, and what I learned is a 747-8 can take off with full load at 160 knots. So I'm not sure how accurate these are. I'm talking about real life numbers, but that's that. So the performance part is done, departure arrival is done, VNAV, cruising altitude, transition altitude, and speed. I think we can still not change this. This aircraft has a lot of stuff that is not working, thanks to Microsoft not taking this serious. Like, I mean, even the custom livery display that we have seen, look at that, like how bad it is. Come on now. I mean, and you know, one of the engines is running and the other one is displaying the heat blur. It is not good looking. But this FMC doesn't have enough functions, or this one has less functions. So this is the cruise. We will be at 81% M1 while we are cruising. That's the cruise page. The previous one was climb page, so we are climbing to 260. Economic speed, which means the thrust is reduced, and the transition altitude is 10,000, and speed is 250. So until 10,000 we will maintain 250 knots. That's what it is saying as speed restriction. Speed transition, I don't know if we can plug anything in there. We can try though. To see. No. And the transition altitude is what? And we cannot change that either. How nice. Okay, let's go to the next page. This is our cruise settings. I'm pretty sure we cannot change anything in here as well. And this is our descent profile. And as you see, speed restriction is 240 knots below 10,000. And the forecast doesn't do anything. In normal life it should give you the forecast at your destination from METAR, but we don't have a METAR data link, so it's not gonna work. And that's the third page of this this page, or this part of the FMC. ATC doesn't do anything in this aircraft. Fix doesn't do anything in this aircraft. Legs are going to show you your route information and your altitudes and the speeds. Oh, I'm sorry, not speeds. These are the speeds, these are the altitudes, and these are the distances from destination, from departure, not destination. Like 7 miles away from Frankfurt airport, so on and so forth. So that's giving us the distance. What else? Hold page. We don't have any anything that we can program for holding patterns if we have to do a missed approach. That's not option in this aircraft at the moment with the current state. FMC communication, we don't have anything. Program, we don't have anything. Menu brings you back to the menu. ACARS is not working. AFIS, nothing is pretty much functional here. It is just hard-coded buttons, except that top one that displays the identification information of the aircraft. And the salty menu is this is a mod, if you remember. It is showing that the IRS is aligned, and you can instantly align those if you don't want to wait 6 minutes. This is coming from the mod. This is not in the default aircraft. So nav radios, yeah, you can program this. ILS is programmed to 108.9er, and that is the localizer frequency, as you see, for Copenhagen. So that's correctly programmed, at least. And you can tune into VOR radios for left and right VOR radios and track them on your ND, your navigation display. But that's about it when it comes to the programming of the FMC. What we can do is we can swing this to the plan mode and take a look at our flight plan. I need to scroll down a little bit, and I should be able to step through this waypoint. So it's showing us at the runway, and it's showing like 07 right over here. I don't know how correct that information is, because we are departing from 25 left, but well, a lot of problems. So next waypoint, the one after that, and then the one after that. So we go through these waypoints one by one to see if there is any discontinuities in these waypoints, and we can also change the range a little bit to see it better. It might be a thing. Yeah, there we go. This is better, and we can step through this flight plan and see if there is any abnormalities that we need to correct, but looks like we are looking good right now. And as you see, we are not taking a star, we are just going to a direct approach into the runway, which was a little bit unfortunate because we were looking forward to follow that flight plan. Whatever. So now the FMC is programmed. What we can do now is to get the aircraft ready for engine start. We can start the APU, which is that guy over there. We flick that switch to start, and as I said in the previous episode, there is no indication of APU starting to run on any of these pages. If you know if there is, just let me know in the comments, because I wasn't able to find one. So the APU is starting, auto throttle is armed, we can arm the flight directors, we can set our speed at this point because we will be flying at 250 knots below 10,000, and we can set our altitude. You normally set your cruising altitude or the initial clearance altitude that's given by the ATC. I'm not dealing with ATC, so I'm gonna plan for 26,000 feet and hope that the aircraft will follow the restrictions and fly 6,000 until that restriction is cleared before climbing further. That is part of VNAV, but unfortunately VNAV is not quite working. We will give it a test and see what it does. We can arm those VNAV and LNAV right now. The speed is set and auto thrust is armed, and that is probably what we need to do for the MCP, main control panel. We can set our barometric pressure. For that you can either listen to ADIS right here, and it should tell you the barometric pressure at the airport. There we go, and all the weather information. And the altimeter is 30.14. So let's tune that in. And I cannot see it. I need to get rid of the yoke. 30.14. That's it. Our altimeter is set. We can tune out from ADIS now. And I think the APU is already available, so we can switch to APU power, and the ground power is disconnected at this point. APU bleed should already be on. That's there, it's on, so that's cool. And what we can do now is we are pretty much ready for a pushback and engine start. So I think this is it for, you know, very basic programming of the FMC and getting the aircraft ready for takeoff. What we need to do is, though, we need to ask clearance if we were using ATC and plug our squawk code into our transponder, our TCAS system. And if I can go there and remember which button was that, and we can just now turn it to TA while we are on the ground, and we will turn it to TARA prior to takeoff. The radios are good, FMC is okay, we don't have to worry about the engines until we push back, and that's about it, guys. Now we are ready for pushback and taxi. One more thing I want to do is put the weather here and also terrain information so that we can get the terrain displayed, and then it switches to, we will switch to weather, because I cannot individually program these two screens. I wish there was a way to put weather on one and the terrain on the other, but it's not an option right now. And that says 25, we are going to 26,000. That was my bad, I wasn't paying attention, I guess. Okay, so this is how you pretty much start the aircraft from cold and dark. We are not going to push back, but I don't know, let's just try to push back. Let's just call the pushback tag and see how that goes.
Frankfurt ground, Lufthansa
We don't have clearance.
requesting pushback. Lufthansa 79er, heavy pushback request accepted.
Okay, the pushback tag is coming. Right there. The jetway is disconnected automatically when we asked for pushback. Hoping at this point our passengers are all on board and we are ready to depart for our destination. So the tag is going to align itself, and as soon as we see it's pushing us back, at this point we can go down there and turn off the parking brake or release the parking brake. Now it is released. Now what we need to do is, remember, we are going to start engine number 4 first. It is going to start to spool up over there, and we are going to wait for 2.0, and at the same time we need to pay attention to what the tag is doing, and I'm gonna ask them to push us left. It is coming to 2. Let's add the fuel, and that engine should be starting right now. That is the engine right over there on the right wing. Now we need to end the pushback. Holy cow! Yeah, okay. We can go a little bit longer. I hope he doesn't back us up into those luggages over there, but now we can stop the pushback. Okay. We can set the parking brake and keep on powering or turning on the engines. So engine number 2 is starting now, and we will see if we can start both engines on the left wing at the same time when we start that engine. They are both using the APU bleed, not using engine bleed to spool up the turbines, but we will see. That will be an experiment. I haven't tried that before. Okay, add the fuel. Engine number 3 is now running, or at least will be running shortly, and stabilize. And somewhat our throttle is not okay. It is my calibration settings. Yeah, I knew it is. That you need to calibrate your joystick every time you launch the simulator. That is a little bit unfortunate, but if you don't do that, your throttle will not be aligned. And I have a throttle slider on my joystick, not a HOTAS, which hopefully I will get in the near future. Now both engines are stable, so now let's try something fancy and pull both starter switches and see what it does. So they both started to display, yeah, M1, and we will add fuel to both at the same time and see what happens. Looks like they are starting though, as far as I can tell, which means we can start 2 engines at a time. Add the fuel. Let's check. Yeah, they are spooling, if I'm not seeing wrong. Yeah, if I'm seeing right, and I was right. So there you go, there you have it. You can start both engines at the same time, which is nice. Let's just add some brightness to these panels. It's kind of dark now. Okay, display brightness, upper display, lower display, and the co-pilot can handle himself. So now the engines are running. Now we are ready to taxi. This is going to be it for this tutorial, guys. We have seen the full Cold&Dark start of the Queen of Skies 747-8. In the next part we will be taking the flight to Copenhagen and performing an ILS landing to runway 30 left. I think that's going to be it. To get notified for future episodes, please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications if you haven't already. and I will be seeing you in the next video.